This is the hardest video I've had to make. So this video is an interview with Ziggy. She's a counselor that works for Renewal Health Group, which are drug rehabilitation facilities located throughout California. Specifically, she works at one of their outpatient facilities called Phoenix Rising in Palm Springs. And she lost her son at 21 years old to heroin addiction 5 years ago. So she shares her pain and experience to further educate others and also hopefully to prevent irresponsible drug use.
And what got you into counseling?
So, a few years ago, now about 5-6 years ago, I moved out of the desert, and in the interim of me moving out here, I decided that I needed to do something. I needed some kind of career. I was getting closer to the retirement end of my life, and I didn't have any Social Security, and I had nothing. So I went back to school to be an insurance biller and coder. And in that time I was going to school, I had found out that my son was using heroin. I knew he'd been smoking dope. I knew he wasn't in the best place. There was some history there. He was in jail for 6 months. He came out. I was in my last mod of school, getting my associate's degree in medical billing and coding. And I was already like, this is not for me. I'm not a sit in a cubicle kind of girl. I'm not a numbers kind of girl. I'm a people person. I like people. I like, to get in people's heads. I'm curious about people, all of those things. And literally about 6 or 8 weeks before I graduated, my son passed from an overdose, a heroin overdose. And I hadn't seen him because he was in jail for 6 months prior. He got out 2 weeks later. He was dead. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you. It's been, it'll be 5 years in December. But at that moment, or shortly after anyway, I just realized that I couldn't do what I was going to school for. That wasn't, certainly wasn't going to honor his passing. And I couldn't, I don't know if I couldn't or I couldn't let his death be in vain. I really couldn't. And I just knew that I had to do something to honor who he was and the reason that he was no longer with me. And I couldn't hug him anymore. And I took a 3-month sabbatical, jumped right back into school, finished, and jumped right into counseling school. That quick. And this whole process for me, from school to my journey here at Phoenix Rising, which is almost 3 years, has not only taught me, or not only given me the experience of finding and engaging in what I'm passionate about. It's given me a chance to heal and grieve, and I get to honor my child every single day. Every single day that I show up here, I get to honor him and know that if I can help somebody else,
that they're a parent and they don't have to go through that like you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I use that. I mean, I it's not like every group, but I mean, I am your mother. I am the one that suffers behind the scenes. I am the one going through your addiction with you. And I don't wish what I feel on anybody, ever. My worst enemy. I don't want you to have to experience, I don't want any parent to have to experience what I've experienced as a mother losing a 21-year-old child. And so every day when I show up here, I remind myself why I'm here. And they know I'm a little tough. I'm a lot tough. I don't pull any punches. I call it like I see it. Most of them, if they know me for a little while, they know that. But I also know that my story is important. And it's important for a lot of these kids that come to treatment that think that they're in their addiction, or they're running the streets, or they're doing whatever they're doing, and thinking that it doesn't affect anybody. But it does. It does. My daughter is also in the same field now. Interesting. But I just had to give him his life and my life purpose. So I feel like he brought me to this. He brought me to what my true passion is. In a kind of screwed up way, but I believe he speaks through me a lot. A lot of the things that I might say to a client, I don't know where it came from, so it has to be him or God. So yeah, that's kind of what got me here. Yeah.
And it's hard to ask you this, but like, I do plan to publish this to reach probably, 50, 100,000 people. So if you could share your pain with me and what it's like memories.
Sure.
And what hurts the most about it.
I think what hurts the most is that I'll never get to hug him again. I'll never get to see any triumphs or successes. I'll never get to see him get married or have children. Those are things that hurt, that are the nevers, that will never happen. Hurt, a lot of the hurt comes from what I didn't do or what I didn't recognize or how I wasn't there. Thank God I've had a good counselor, and I've been able to kind of heal through this. So I've been able to let go of a lot of the guilt and the shame that comes with that. My hardest struggle in this field and in relating to that is that I wish I knew then what I know now. I wish I could have given to my son what I'm able to do to every client that comes and sits before me, or sits with me, or sits in a group with me, or comes to me crying, or is hurting, or is in pain. And I didn't have the tools that I needed. I have forgiven myself the guilt that I carried, that imagining that he was resentful or he was angry with me. And that a lot came from his friends who talked to me and said, no, he loved you very much and talked to you about you only positively every single day. And no, and then I, in addition to that, learning more about who he is. So that's some of my regret and my hurt, that I didn't know. I always knew he had a huge heart, and he was a good friend, and he was a loyal person, super intelligent. But I didn't realize how much he did for his friends. And I wish I would have slowed down. I wish my life was a little bit more calm so that I could have slowed down and acknowledged that for him. But the biggest hurt is that he's not here. It's just as simple as that. He's not here, and he'll never be here again. And it's hard. It's hard. I want to shake these kids sometimes, and
a lot of them, nobody that dies from overdose thinks it's going to happen to them, regardless of the drug, whether it be heroin or laced pills or
who knows what.
Yeah. Some people can say, well, I use this and it has a high LD50. Right. But based on your brain chemistry or what you combine it with, or if it's laced or not, and that's, I didn't know how much addiction affected my family until I was a year sober, and I saw them cry tears of joy when I was getting my year sober chip at a 12-step meeting. Mm-hmm. So I didn't even know until I was sober. I was just so in my own world. Yeah. And once it's over, I mean, it's over. I imagine it's something that you're gonna have to live with
for the rest of my life.
For the rest of your life.
Yeah.
If you could, talk to your son one more time, what would you tell him?
I love you. It's just as simple as that. I love you, and I'm sorry.
What would you say to people who have a loved one struggling with addiction?
Oh, God. To find compassion and empathy in your heart, to understand that they're not bad people, they're sick, or have issues, or have problems that need to be addressed. One of the biggest things that affected me when he passed was, and it wasn't huge, but it was enough that I recognize it and I remember it, is this shame, like in telling somebody, like I have a good friend whose son passed at about the same age from cancer. And somehow when my son died of a heroin overdose, for a minute, it felt like that should be less important. But it didn't feel less important. But I felt like it was going to be a judgment. The people were going to, oh, well, he was just a heroin addict, or he was just a drug addict, or he was just living in the street, or he was just that. But he wasn't just that, But so I had to move past that. It was hard to move past that that kind of stigma, because it wasn't really how I felt or what I believed. But it was kind of a programmed response, I guess, for lack of a better word, or lack of better words, based on society, based on, the stigma of drug addiction and that kind of thing. So I think if I in speaking to other people's people's parents who have children who are struggling with addiction,
or their husband,
or their husband or their loved ones, in any case, is to find the time to sit and listen, to find the time to talk and take care of yourself. That's what I had to do. I couldn't do anything for him, but I had to go to Al-Anon. I had to take care of myself. I had to find my own counseling. I had to do my own thing because I realized that my journey was different than his. It was still intertwined, but our journeys were very different. He was battling the addiction. I was battling the pain of watching him in addiction. And you feel like your hands are tied, like you can't move, like there's nothing you can do. I remember having to be like tough, like, okay, babe, I love you and I'm willing to help you with whatever you want, but not until you're willing to help yourself. And yes, I'll be there if you want support, if you want to go to school, if you want to get help getting, finding work or doing whatever. I'm there for you, but I'm not going to continue to send you money for whatever, And that's really a hard thing, but it was an important thing to do. But I think the first and foremost thing is reach out for help. Don't shut yourselves in your house in shame because you have a loved one that's in addiction, that has a disease of addiction. Ask for help, whether it be through Al-Anon or private counsel or therapist or whatever, but ask for help. Because just like we tell addicts, you can't do this alone, you shouldn't do this alone, you don't have to do this alone. Well, the loved ones of those addicts don't have to do it alone either. And it's important not to. It's really important not to.
So this is a clip of our 32-minute discussion. If you want to hear the whole discussion, I'll be sure to link to the podcast in the description.